I'd like to introduce you to everybody. Marieke von Donkersgoed, and tell us
You
about
host
you.
something like this, that you connect with your own feelings of grief, that you
So let's
connect.
first, let's call this, you're hosting what?
Well, let's say we're hosting a larger gathering, a remembrance service. Let's just make it a
Okay,
remembrance service, and I'm not going to make it too churchy, but
right.
let's just think of what that
Hosting
can
a
be.
larger remembrance gathering. How about
Yeah, yeah. So
that?
more people. So you want to make sure that you are yourself connected with your own understanding of grief, and even with your own feelings of grief, which we always have something to grieve about. Because I think when you're grounded in that, you connect with others who are in that energy, in that vibration. If you are going to do this thinking that you're going to tell people something or teach people something, and you're nervous about that, your anxiety is going to create a bigger distance between yourself and let's call it the participants of the event that you're putting on. So I think it's really important also to go really slow. You don't hurry people that come in already anxious about, oh my goodness, this is about grief. Oh my gosh, I'm going to cry. A lot of these elements of allowing yourself to be in this are the things that isolate us because they're scary to show. So having people come in and gather in an atmosphere that is just very solemn and um, undemanding, if you will, just for people, allowing people to just be and have some music playing. It can just be some light, beautiful, just background music so that people can kind of settle in and kind of look around and maybe recognize others. It takes a little time. It's not like, okay, come in and let's get the show going, but just give people a real time to settle in. Music is really important to me. And around Christmas time, of course, we have the most beautiful types of music in Christmas hymns already. So Little Town of Bethlehem or Silent Night, Holy Night are guaranteed melodies that bring out so much emotion in people. So somewhere in the service, somewhere in the program, you want to have this kind of music, because what we want to happen is for people to be okay with those emotions, so that if
So let me just stop because this is beautiful for people where that music, mostly like Christian tradition or Unitarian or people like that, but there's many people that will have different
yep.
music for their group. So just have whatever music for your own group, right? Yeah.
Right, but I would suggest that it's not going to be jazz or hip hop. Just be
Yeah.
mindful of the music that you play, and if there is certain music in certain traditions that emotes people, that really allows people to connect with their emotions, that is a really recommendable type of music, because we want people to have, for once, a safe place to connect with their emotion and allow the emotion and express the emotion. I need to say, most people that come to these kind of things do not come alone. They usually come with a trusted friend or a family member, not necessarily someone who is going through deep grief, but often they do come, seldom do they come alone, because they feel they need to feel safe. It's really important part of it. So what I usually ask people to do is to bring a photograph or some item that reminds them and connects them to the person or the situation that they've lost. It helps people to connect, and it also helps people in case of the loss through a death, to connect with this person that has left, or a pet that they have loved that has left. To bring them, and to make sure that this is about honoring all of that. And when the situation has allowed for it, I've often had like a half circle of votives, and then everyone at some point would place their photos or their items in that kind of like sacred area, with light around it, to emphasize something, to emphasize the person to be honored here today. then there's at some point you need to start it. So there's a point where you take the lead and you step up and give people a warm welcome. And in the welcome, it's really also, again, very important to help people understand what this is all about, because they're all wondering. Everybody's like, what's going to happen here? Where am I? Do I need to do something? Do I not need to do something? You know, all those kind of questions are going around. Sorry?
Like expectations of what's going to
Or
happen.
yes, what's going on? Because it's an unsafe place, typically. So you want to make sure that they understand this is a place where we connect with everything that is internalized and that we want to bring out. We are all here for grief. This is a safe place. Just allowing people to understand that crying is okay. Crying is okay here. And trust me, crying will happen when you give people the freedom to express what's going on. So the welcome is really a comforting thing and to create connection. Always a good idea is to have some readings prepared, and you can invite other people to do this with you. So it doesn't have to be like you're the person behind the mic all through the process, through the program. So I've had people that did poetry readings. There are just really beautiful things available online. We've done, what is that one called? It's called like a candle in the night. Candle in the night is what it's called. And then there's, of course, Beyond the Rainbow. That's for people who are grieving pet loss. It's a beautiful poem about pets going
But
to.
say that again. I was writing the other one. Say that again after Candle in the Night.
I think it's called Beyond the Rainbow.
Okay.
The Rainbow Poem or something. It's about pet loss. So have some readings. If you're in a church setting, of course, whatever scripture is, you know, you can pull things from there. There's a lot available online that will help you to fill in some of these parts where you would like to do a reading. In some places, meditation is a really nice way to create just a pocket of stillness and reflection, especially after a poem or after a reading or after, you know, if there's a message or a sermon. It's really nice for people to have a stillness moment, which can have music in the background. It doesn't have to be quiet stillness, but just a short pocket of time where people can connect with what's going on inside. Then I always include a message of hope. So depending on where I am, I think that it's important for people to be allowed to be in their energy of grief, but to also have a glimmer of hope. And around Christmas time, of course, if people are in church, in a Christian church, which of course I it's my starting point because I was raised Christian, and even if I'm super active in the Unity Church, that's still kind of my background, and I don't know everything about the traditions of other cultures. So,
oh, that's fine. Everybody can plug in their own culture.
Yes, exactly.
This is a beautiful gift you're offering, and people can. This is the point: is for people to take this and bring what works into your own tradition and culture.
Right.
We have people from every faith and culture and non-faith in our program, and the key is that I think all doulas like you, we want to serve everyone and be available. And these gifts that each one of us has, like you with this is a very generous sharing that anybody can take, right, and make it to their own.
Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, and I honor and respect all of that, you know, just don't want to be misunderstood.
Yeah.
And I think that in other cultures also, the year-end holidays, if you will, they have that ingredient of light and love and hope and newness, you know, not just around, you know, Jesus being born and that being, you know, the savior of the world. And that is a hopeful message. But I believe that the other traditions also in their traditional scriptures and storytelling, which is the best part of religion, really, the beautiful storytelling, beautiful pieces of hope. So I think that's important. Then there's the candle lighting, which is really the most emotional and most beautiful portion, especially if you're going to do this program in the evening. And again, my starting point is that we're in a gathering, which of course now with the COVID is so weird. And I don't really exactly know how this can be kind of applied in a way like on a Zoom meeting, which I'm thinking about myself. So those are ways to be creative. But what I always like to do is I light 5 candles. I have 4 smaller candles and I have 1 large candle, which I light. So, or someone who is in my team of putting this together. So the 4 small candles, they stand for grief, for courage, for memories, and for love. And there's a text that goes with it while the candles are lit. And then the 5th one, that's the larger candle, is the candle of hope. So when all of those candles are lit and you've kind of created this beautiful stillness atmosphere, you invite the people to light a candle for their loved ones. And I've always had a basket readily available with an area where I usually use those big turkey roasting pans, those silver ones, that you can get at the dollar store. And I just put 3 in a row, and then I put sand in them, just beach sand or sandbox sand, so that people can take a candle, light it off the hope candle, one by one. So I really take the time for this. So people can walk up, pick up a candle, light it on the hope candle, speak the name of their loved one if they so want to, and then put that candle in the sand box. And then, at some point after everybody has, and sometimes people are really hesitant to do this because stepping up and being seen is something that's really hard for a lot of people. But usually I would say probably 9 out of 10 people will go. And a lot of them do not speak the name, but I ask them, if you don't speak the name, just have this person in your mind, this is to honor them. And then potentially you have this beautiful gathering of candles with their beautiful light. And if the room is dark around you, pretty much, it's just such a beautiful, honoring reflection of love, really, because the energy of love is in every single candle. And the flame reaches up, and I'll say something about that, that this is the place where we can call in the spirits of the people we love. And usually that becomes a very emotional piece of this gathering. So I allow that to happen very calmly, to give it a lot of time, give people, not rush anything, just, this can last 10 minutes or it can last half an hour. I never put a time frame on it. So then after that, also kind of depending on where I am and people are around me, I will bless the candles. So I will kind of speak a blessing over that beautiful container of love that's there, and just honor it, just to make sure that we really understand what this energy is and how beautiful it is to do this together, and words of comfort, words of hope, words of connection. That's how that kind of ends then. Then there's the option of having a tree of honor. So you could also ask your participants to bring an ornament if they want to, something that is meaningful to them because it reminds them of what they've lost or who they've lost. And then at some point you could, maybe if you don't feel comfortable doing a candle lighting, but you still want to do a different kind of ritual, people can come up and hang their ornament on a special tree. And then you can do the blessing of the tree, you can do the blessing of the ornaments. There's a whole lot that you can speak then also, where people know, okay, my piece of grief is on that tree. And this is how I honor my grief. This is how I honor my person. This is how I honor my loss. But it makes it tangible in a way.
Let me ask you something. So on the tree one, So you'll have a tree, and then you invite people to bring their ornament. They're not speaking as they put the ornament, and everybody puts their ornament, and then you can share it after everybody's put their ornament. Is that how you do it?
You mean the speaking of names?
No, the tree. Yeah, on the tree part. Like if you're doing the tree ceremony part.
I've done the tree ceremony only after or alongside the candle lighting. I've never done the service without a candle lighting.
Right. Okay. So this comes after the candle lighting, where then they could go and put an ornament on a tree that you have. Okay.
Correct.
Is there any speaking going on over there?
No, not per se. Unless there's no candle lighting, then I will do the, the talk of comfort and connection around that. I mean, you're free in how you want to package it. It's just that you create something in which people can personally do something in this gathering where they honor their feeling, their grief, their person, their event, their loss, whatever it is that they came for.
Do they take their ornament back, or is this something they're donating to maybe somebody else's Christmas or something?
It can be whatever it needs to be. And if you're in a tradition where you don't have a Christmas tree, it can be a tree of life. It can just be a beautiful cardboard or paper tree on the wall where people can pin it can be anything. So creativity can be served here as well.
Yeah, totally. That's so beautiful.
Right? Yeah, there's so many things you can do. And then also, again, depending on the group of people that you are with, you can give people an opportunity to share. And what I love about this part is by this time, people are really comfortable where they are, and they've really kind of felt the atmosphere and they feel safe. And you kind of open the mic. And you say, is there anyone here that would like to share anything from your heart that you would like to share with all the other people that are here? And this is where people kind of start to dare to say something and laugh about it, to tell a funny anecdote or a funny story about the person they lost. I'm not saying they all do that, but this is kind of an opportunity to kind of step back into what's outside of this again. And realize that if there's a loss of a person that they, a story came to mind that they'd like to share, the most beautiful stories come out at that time. And it's because people are comfortable. So you want to put this out until kind of later on in the program so that people feel safe. Then I will usually close with a prayer if I'm in a church situation. And if it's not a prayer, I will call it a blessing, because people that are not church going or religious per se usually do understand blessing. And to me, those are really close, a prayer or a blessing. It's just if people don't pray, then they feel more at home with a blessing. So that's how I will end it. And then I will, if it's possible, and again, now it is not, I love to have a gathering after, or at least give people the freedom to stick around. So to have music playing, perhaps refreshments. So you're going to tell people, we welcome you to stay around and to share your stories. We have some refreshments. And if you need any guidance or coaching, feel free to talk to me, just keep it open. So they don't feel like, okay, this is done, now we're out the door and we're back to the so-called normal. So try to prolong that energy a little bit, and hopefully people will connect with each other, because sometimes beautiful relationships are started in this energy, in this gathering.
I can imagine.
So that's kind of how it's put together. But the sky is the limit. You can, whatever comes to mind, and I'm sure there's a ton of other ideas out there on the web.
Excuse me, I had to cough. I really love this because you've tried and tested, and this is what has worked for you to have these lovely services. So I think that we can all get lost on the internet trying to figure it out, and why, when you have just beautifully given us this. I was thinking of some Zoom. Hold on, I need to cough. I don't know why. Hold on.
I was thinking about what I'm noticing for myself, a person who likes to have live gatherings, and we can't now. In doing Zoom stuff, maybe you found this to be true too, but I could see us doing this whole thing in Zoom. But if we have to give people instructions ahead of time. So if you're going to have this kind of thing, then it's even more important than ever to say, okay, be in a room like this, have certain lighting like this, bring the candle, your bottle of water, like your bowl, like whatever kind of ceremony you're trying to create out there, have it here, but it'll just be them on their own. Maybe I know that having headset makes it more personal and feels more in your heart if you have something on your head. So I was thinking when you were talking for the Zoom experience, it's not the same, but maybe just giving instruction. Does that make sense? Like more instruction?
Yeah, well, just I think it could work really well. Like you say, if it's introduced in a timely fashion and allowing people, to be prepared for it, and that could be with a couple of lead-ins. It doesn't have to be like, okay, we're doing this one-time event on Zoom. I have a feeling I'm going to probably do a couple of them this season, around Thanksgiving perhaps already, where it's difficult for people to, even people who are not going through grief right now, are not in, the people who do choose not to gather, to offer something of stillness and something of reflection and honoring where you are and honoring this incredible time that we're in, right? It has so many facets, and it's confusing, and some people say, well, for me it's great. Other people say, oh my gosh, I can't wait for this to be over. But we're all somehow affected, and to honor that. So there's so many different ways that this can happen. I'm definitely game for doing.
I'm trying to think of how to make up for because I can only imagine the beautiful lights in the sand. And I love the sand idea. I'm a lover of water, so I'm always doing everything in water. But they're very definite technical difficulties with water. So I like the sand very much. So I'm just trying to think. So home alone in a gathering on Zoom, but not getting all those candles because we're not together. So that's if anybody that's listening has any ideas around the connection piece that brings.
Well, what comes up for me is that, for instance, people could light a candle for the 4 candles, then they can light their own candle of hope. So then you already have 5 candles burning. People don't have to necessarily do this alone. If you have a trusted friend in your bubble or family members in your bubble that, that could participate with you, this is not.
So you'll have like 1 or 2 or 3 people doing your 6 feet, but you're at least with other people. That's what I'm saying. It's like to have some things to offer people so that they're not just alone in their room with other people on Zoom, but actually there's that's perfect. There you go. That's it.
Well, that can work. And I was also thinking that I lost the thought. Never mind. It went through my head. It might come back.
Yeah, wonderful. This is so good, Marieke.
Yeah, it is. And it
really
happens so spontaneously.
Yes. And there's so many of us, I know I come from this myself, that I'm not a priest, I'm not chaplain, I'm not this, I'm not that. I'm like my tendency is to get things done. I'm to get things done. That's why I'm a nurse, And so I don't feel that I naturally have these kinds of skills that you are seeing very natural in this, creating this memorial. When I see it, yeah, I can do that, but it's not in my natural first thing I think of. It is more and more as I get more into my heart, as I study more energy medicine stuff, it is becoming me more and more and more. But for my first 50 years, it wasn't. So that's my default. And I think there's a lot of people like that they wouldn't naturally think of this beautiful service.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can relate to what you're saying because at heart, or not at heart, actually not at heart, but in body, I am a doer. And at heart, I've learned to be a beer. You know, I
Yes.
want to be a human being. Human being to me is a verb. It's not a noun. You know, it's being in your humanness and the totality of what that is, which is huge, you know, who we are here to be. So I can relate to what you're saying, and I'm not always in a calm place, trust me.
I don't know if we all, any of
But
us.
that's kind of why I said, you know, if you get into this, if you want to plan something like this or actually execute it, you really want to connect with that part of you that is grief, so that you can be in, you know, in the slower, softer, gentle. It's important to make it a success.
We've had some people stop by and say hi. I don't see any questions, but that's fine. I mean, I think like this has just been a nice drink of water is the way I'm looking at our time right now. I've just been so enjoying your soothing voice. I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you,
You're
thank you.
so welcome.